Welcome back to ASMR Sea Shanties and Folk Songs, with our very first plain old folk song for this series. The Bear Went Over the Mountain, an inland song compared to all the maritime episodes thus far. But don't worry, there are so many sea shanties to come. I am not short on material on that front. I just wanted to go into this month with a nice, easy solo piece. And I wanted to dissect it a bit because I remember a really thought-provoking commercial that utilized the song. It's an old commercial, but it's memorable and left a solid impression on me. More on that in a bit. As for the song, it's a common American folk song. Many of you from the States probably learned it in school. Now, one source claims this song has German origins and that's it. That's all the source says. It doesn't even elaborate. Y'all, please back up your claims. And also, don't believe everything you read on the internet, but please back up your claims. That said, I'm going to believe Wikipedia, because at least it references some cold, hard books and primary sources, which indicate the melody of the song has French origins. The Bear Went Over the Mountain shares the same melody as For He's a Jolly Good Fellow, which in turn allegedly derived from a French melody known as Marbolo Sonvati en guerre. Is my best attempt at speaking French. I do not speak French. In English, the title literally translates to Marlborough Goes to War, and it tells of a wife receiving word of her husband's death in battle. This melody was composed after the Battle of Malplaquet. Forgive me if I mispronounce the title. This was a battle in 1709 during the Spanish Succession, when Charles II of Spain died in 1700, leaving behind no children and no heirs to the throne, resulting in a power vacuum that erupted into war between countries that supported different candidates to the throne. Now, before we go down a rabbit hole of historical details, let's stay situated in France. Word has it, Marie Antoinette, the last queen of France, heard her son's wet nurse singing the song as a lullaby. She grew fond of it and began to sing it herself, which likely spurred the popularity of the melody. I wish the source that mentioned the German origins had elaborated. Perhaps Germans coming to America altered the song's lyrics. I wish I had more resources, and I'm afraid the true origins of this melody's English lyrics might have simply been lost to history. But at the very least, we can thank the French for the melody, and we can thank a Wikipedia contributor for the theory that we may owe the lyrics of The Bear Went Over the Mountain to a German tradition akin to Groundhog Day, in which we observe animal behavior to predict how much longer winter will last. In some German-speaking areas, it was believed that if a bear could see over the mountain, if the weather was clear, it would come out of hibernation. If the weather was rainy or snowy, it would return to its den to hibernate a few more weeks. Now, that commercial. I'm going to share it here. Fair warning, it's unsettling in its simplicity and bluntness, but I think that's precisely why it left such a strong impression on me after having seen it so many years ago.
The bear climbed over the mountain, the bear climbed over the mountain, the bear climbed over the mountain, and what do you think he saw? What do you think he saw? What do you think he saw? The bear climbed over the mountain, the bear climbed over the mountain, the bear climbed over the mountain, and what do you think he saw?
Chilling, but inspiring. Now, wildfires are a natural occurrence. There are some plants that have evolved to become dependent on this natural phenomenon. Redwood seeds need bare soil devoid of competition to germinate, conditions usually resulting after a wildfire. And giant sequoias have fire-resistant bark, and their cones only release seeds after being intensely dried up by a fire. Furthermore, some plants native to wildfire-prone areas have thick outer coating on their seeds. Seeds for these plants, which include shrubs from the buckthorn family, will only germinate after the outer layer of their seeds have been burned off by the heat of a wildfire. So wildfires allow for new growth. That said, human activity has clearly intensified brush fires to the point of them being far more destructive than they might have been by natural means. I think it's important for people to be aware of this, even children. And the message isn't just that wildfires are destructive to our natural landscape, but to us and our homes as well. On a similar note, I admire how Bambi illustrates the destructiveness of humans on forests in a creative and chilling way. The humans, arguably the antagonists of the story, are never seen on screen, let alone heard. You don't even see a footprint. All you see is their heavy effect on the ecosystem. Now, ironically, because of human activity in overhunting natural predators, such as wolves, bears, etc., today's deer across the U.S. are overpopulating their areas, to the extent that hunters are actually quite important to regulate deer populations and prevent deer from trampling and overeating foliage, which in turn could negatively affect their own ecosystem. Case in point, the reintroduction of wolves to Yellowstone National Park. I could ramble on for another 10 minutes, or I can redirect you to this video, showcasing how the reintroduction of apex predators to a food web they were once a part of affects their ecosystem, down to the physical landscape itself. Reintroducing wolves to Yellowstone corrected the course of the river. It's crazy, I find it fascinating, and I'll link this video in the description below. But not everyone has followed in the footsteps of Yellowstone, so hunters often play a vital role in keeping deer population down. That said, I am not praising the hunter in Bambi. I want to give the benefit of the doubt. They just didn't notice Bambi's mom had a foal with her, because if they did, what an irresponsible hunter. But even still, what an irresponsible hunter for not checking before pulling the trigger. And of course, the fire. The fire truly showcases the destructiveness of man in his irresponsibility. So much for leave no trace. Like the Smokey commercial, the message hits hard here because you don't see the perpetrator. All you see is their destruction. But let's end on a brighter note before singing the song, because the song on its own strikes me as a celebration of nature. Like Shanties, I've heard multiple variations of this song. The variation of lyrics that I'm most familiar with, and that I'll sing, are those heard in a rendition by Bing Crosby, in a 1961 album titled 100 Gang Songs. Essentially, folk songs that work well when sung in gangs or choruses. Given this song is like a lullaby in nature, the lyrics are fairly simple, and I cannot think of any words that need defining for this episode. So, let's just launch straight into it. The bear went over the mountain, the bear went over the mountain, the bear went over the mountain to see what he could see, to see what he could see, to see what he could see. The bear went over the mountain, the bear went over the mountain, the bear went over the mountain, and what do you think he saw? What do you think he saw? What do you think he saw? The other side of the mountain, the other side of the mountain, the other side of the mountain was all that he could see, was all that he could see, was all that he could see. The other side of the mountain, the other side of the mountain, the other side of the mountain was all that he could see.